Hi, everybody. Welcome to A&N In Depth. It is our last A&N In Depth of the General Conference session, Sam.
Yay!
I think we did okay. What do you think?
I like this experience of digesting what happened and trying to figure it out together with you or at
Yeah.
home, reading your comments and thinking through together the decisions that were made and the things that happened here at the General Conference session in St. Louis.
Right. And it's made sure that we pay attention more than maybe some others because we have to talk
Absolutely.
to you guys about it.
Yes.
So last night, the nominating came back. They brought back the last group of nominees to be voted by the delegates. And Sam, they finished really quickly. They had a lot of names and they got done a day ahead of time.
Yeah, very efficient. The division secretaries and treasurers, they were all nominated and voted last night.
Right. And the GC associate directors, the majority of the nominees were incumbents. And you can look at the full list of names at gcsession.org. And if you go to the business, there's a tab that says voted, and you can see all the names there. But you may have noticed last night that I was alone. Somebody had left me. And that was because he was up getting nominated.
I
Sam,
abandoned Jennifer
You
for
did.
good reason.
Yeah, because he was on stage.
Yeah.
I guess I will let it slip this time. So Sam, you went through the process this time. You had to be elected again to your new term. What was that like for you?
This is the first time that this happened at a General Conference session. My first election happened at annual council, and it's a very different experience. I was in a nominating committee meeting in England at the time that it happened, and I heard about it through Twitter. I just saw somebody tag me at S.A. Nevis, which is my Twitter handle, from the official profile of the World Church saying, "Welcome to the team." And that's how I heard that the vote had taken place. And that's a very different experience to being here at a General Conference session. And we've been following this process of the whole church sending delegates from across the world. And then these delegates vote a nominating committee that is 10% of all of those delegates. And then they look at the different aspects of the church, the needs of the church, and all the possibilities. And then the church says, in my case, we're going to need you to hang on a little longer and continue this ministry and see what you can do best to advance the mission of the church in your field.
Right.
Then you get up to the stage and you know that not only the people that are there, but those that are following online, that you have the trust and the responsibility from the World Church to do your best with the gifts God gave you. And it's an overwhelming feeling of, I am not capable of pulling this off.
It's humbling.
If anything this is.
Right.
And you have to, you have this sense, I had this sense of having to continue to rely on the Holy Spirit or just go home.
Right.
And that's my experience going through it. But before coming to that, there is a tension, Jennifer, because from a decision just like that, your whole family could move. And that's how we came here to America. I have 3 boys and my wife, and we moved to America. Now, based on this decision, I could go anywhere else. I could go back to England. I could have a call to go to any of the continents. Who knows where God would send me next? So there is part of that is exciting, but there is also a good deal of anxiety. The boys are at school. They're young. What happens then? I remember GT, Elder many years ago, he suggested that you should, when your term is up, clear your office before you go to GC session. So I thought, I'm going to do that. So before coming, I cleared my entire office. You remember that?
We had some fun with you.
Everything came down, and I took it home, and I didn't have much time. I just dumped it in one of the rooms and came here and drove here with a clear conscience. My term is finished. The church asked me to serve for a certain time. Now I finished that time. What does God want next?
Right.
And going up on stage and after the vote of the World Church saying, we want you to continue for a little longer, then that was a new moment.
Now you have to put your office back.
Now I have to put the whole office back.
Yeah. And I think it's important to remember, too, what GT King said on the floor. I think it was just a few days ago, that this is a time for cheering because some people get elected, but it's also a time for tears because others won't. So these are decisions that impact people's lives. And we just ask that, not only do you pray for the people who are now serving in their new terms or brand new terms, their first time, but that you also pray for the people who maybe have retired or who were not elected this time.
And God will find a place for you to work, because Jesus is the boss of this church.
Yes.
And I know there are people that think that this whole thing is just a process and everybody knows what's going to happen.
No.
I promise you that's not the case. All you need to do is sit in a nominating committee, even at conference or union level, and it isn't like that. You never know what will happen.
Right.
And so I believe, and I would say most Adventists believe, that God is in charge of this church, and He will bring it to fruition. And when you are nominated and you are elected, you serve your term. And when you are not, you look for the new opportunity of serving.
Right.
Because there is also this idea that going back to the local church or going back to another instance of the church is a demotion.
Right.
I think that is very wrong. There is nothing more precious than being in a local church.
Right.
And being able to visit and be with people at their moment of need. And if God willing, one day, that's exactly where I will be in my ministry.
Right.
Where I started, I want to go back and be with people. So that's the, and if because usually we talk about pastors. If the elected position is not a pastor, then going back to teaching or going to another area of work, I think that's...
And that's actually something Pastor Kohler said today in a press conference with the 3 officers. He was talking about, it's great that we have all these resources and we have these plans here, but really where the root of some of these solutions are at the local church.
Yeah.
And we need to empower them. But today, just because the nominating committee didn't meet doesn't mean it wasn't a busy day for business. It was the last day of business for the general conference session. So they had to continue some of the church manual amendments. And they also had to continue with some of the items that had been sent back to the Constitution and Bylaws Committee and return those to the floor. But 2 big items filled most of the afternoon with discussion before being voted and accepted. And the first one was the resolution of the Holy Bible. This document, it is a document that expresses the church's conviction that the Bible is the inspired and revealed Word of God. Sam, what did you think of this discussion?
Usually these things go pretty quickly.
Yes.
We believe the Bible is inspired. Yes. Let's go to the vote and we're done. Not today. The many paragraphs that compose the resolution, some people notice some language they would like to see different language applied. And what happened was very interesting. I struggled to follow through. And this is a shout out to Todd McFarlane, who is amazing on this procedures. And also the chair, Elder Mana, going through this. It was a very difficult process. And what happened is that they discussed it, and somebody called question on the motion.
Which means they have to stop.
Which means they have to stop all the debate and vote. And they voted to refer this back to ADCOM. It's like, okay, which essentially meant check this language. We are uncomfortable with this, and this. There could be a clearer way of saying it, and they sent the resolution back. And then a resolution came on Ellen White afterwards, and that initiated a whole set of conversations about that too.
And that is the statement of confidence in the writings of Ellen G. White. And this statement recognizes the gift of prophecy in the life and ministry of Ellen G. White, and affirms that her writings were inspired by the Holy Spirit and are Christ-centered and Bible-based. And then what happened?
While that was in discussion, we were in a press conference with Elder Wilson, Elder Prestola, and Elder Kuller, and I had a friend who texted me and said, "You have to see this. This is unbelievable. It's taking us hours to vote a resolution on the Bible and the Spirit of prophecy. Things that should take 5 minutes."
Right.
So I go to YouTube, because now we can do that in 4 languages. It's amazing. And I put it on 2x 2 times, and I listened to the whole thing, all the argumentation back and forth. And it was already difficult to follow in real time. 2 times was just impossible until I got caught up. And essentially, it was an entire parliamentary procedure, which I will not relay here.
Right.
Thankfully, you can go and watch it yourself.
And you should.
But when they were so they basically referred the resolution on the Bible to ADCOM, and when to the committee that voted it to bring it here, they referred it back. And when it came to the resolution on Ellen White, they said, well, we can't really vote a resolution on Ellen White without voting a resolution on the Bible.
Right.
So after all the ins and outs, somebody moved to bring back that original motion, which had like 5, 6 motions to eventually get to it.
Right.
And I think this is my own reading, my own commentary on it. And people will have different opinions if they watch it. I think that at some point, we realized as delegates that, hold on a minute, these are items that are important, but they're secondary items. The big idea here is that we believe the Bible.
Right.
So what will happen if we finish a general conference session and we can't even agree on a resolution on the Bible? And that's the vote was 80-something% in favor of the resolution.
Right.
Showing a tremendous support from the delegates for the Bible, obviously. And then the Spirit of Prophecy seen in the ministry of Ellen White was the second one. And that eventually somebody had tabled that for after the resolution on the Bible. Once we voted on the resolution of the Bible, it was brought back, the resolution on the Spirit of Prophecy and so on. And then we voted on that too. And that took all afternoon, which shows that you never know what will happen on the floor of GC session.
Right.
The things that you think are going to take forever go pretty quickly, and the things that you think are going to be quick take forever.
Right. So that was the business session, and actually they're still going right now. So if you go to YouTube after this, then you'll watch the rest of the business session. But tonight will conclude the business session for general conference session.
And what's important to note is if they don't get through the whole agenda, they'll have to table that to the next general conference session. It's not that they can continue, well, let's do it tomorrow. They can't do that tomorrow because tomorrow is Sabbath in Asia, and we don't do business on Sabbath, and all the delegates need to be present. So it's not going to be discussed now. It will only be discussed in 3 years at the next general conference session. It will be also here in St. Louis.
Right. Well, we have a special guest in just a minute. We have two special guests actually coming up. But first, we just want to remind everybody that tomorrow, as Sam just mentioned, it's Sabbath somewhere. And that means that we are going to have mission all day. Mission from 8 o'clock in the morning all the way through. So first we're going to have our division reports, and then we're going to have the total member involvement report. So you'll want to be here for that. But right now we want to introduce our communication director, Williams Costa Jr., who is here with us. Williams.
Yeah.
Welcome, Williams.
We're so happy to have you here. Williams, this is our last in-depth session. And we wanted to bring you here to talk about the communication operation because as people who are watching have seen, A&M Video has played every night at 7:30. A&M In-Depth has been every day, twice a day at 12:30 and at 8 p.m., except for today. We did it only at 8. And then A&M Late Night-ish, which is brand new, only for GC session. We're hoping to continue it, has been 9:30. But then we've also had social media, we've had web, we've had translated. I mean, it's just been incredible, the operation. And we wanted to bring you on to talk about it.
Well, it's my pleasure.
What has been your experience at this general
I have
conference
been invited for the first program. I couldn't make it, so I'm delighted to be here for the first time. Okay, well, for this experience of having this communication process for the general conference was absolutely fantastic, you know, amazing. We had people in the Philippines working. We have people in 7 countries, plus a big group of people working here, putting together texts, designs, and, you know, all sorts of things. So putting up on Instagram, on Facebook, it was so exciting to see all these people matching the subjects together. So when we release on site, it goes through the social media, and it was going also through A&N Video and A&N In-Depth. So for the viewer, all the activity was integrated.
Right.
And yeah, it was great.
How do you feel like when, I mean, because this is something, you know, we've been talking about and dreaming about for so long, and now you're seeing it come to life.
Yeah.
And in real time, how has it been for you? Like, how do you
to
feel?
me, it's a dream come true.
Yeah.
You know, so we have planned and discussed so many times and how to do and what the implications. And on the top of that, 4 languages.
That's always been sort of a dream and a passion of yours is languages and translation and making sure that our content is available to everyone. And now you're finally like every piece of social media, 4 languages, every A&N article, 4 language, A&N Video, 4 languages.
Everything in 4 languages.
Yeah.
And God is good because 80 to 85% of the church speaks those 4 languages.
Right.
And having the content that we want to communicate on those languages is a way to be close to people, to share firsthand, and to motivate and inspire people. I am in the clouds.
We can see.
Yeah. Williams, it's this is your third general conference session as director, is that correct?
Yeah.
So what's the experience of the growth of the digital operation of general conference session? 10 years ago, it was a very different world than now.
Yeah.
How have you seen this growth?
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I was commenting with some friends because in 2010, when I was elected director of the communication department, basically we produced video program, but the essence was in writing. So when we went to the press box, people were seated, pay attention, writing, also just other languages and translating, and having photography, some video, but in doing that, to release on paper or news or even on sites, but everything in writing.
Yeah.
Today, everything is exploding in visual information.
Right.
All over GC, on the session here, there was a corner with someone with cameras and microphones and trying to connect to the internet to upload the blog for the social media. Oh man, it's crazy because the interest, the focus on communication changed. And we as a church are trying as much as we can to accommodate what we are doing to this new world that came especially after the pandemic.
Right. I mean, we're in our studio right now. We have this studio, but everywhere you go, there's mini studios. Even in our press box, Williams, there's like 3 studios set up in corners somewhere.
Yeah. So that's a reality that, it came to stay.
Right.
And we need to understand that more and more technology will make people able to broadcast.
Right.
Whatever you are, you can say things, you can give opinions, and we need to be prepared to deal with this.
Right.
Even with the feedback from people. When you post, in the past, when you write, it's there.
Right.
But today, when you post on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, always there is return.
Right. And it's quick. It's scary because, now that the world is smaller due to media content, social media, whether it's YouTube or whatever it is, our successes are in real time and our mistakes are in real time.
Yeah.
And so it's nice when we get to make our mistakes in private. Unfortunately, none of us have that opportunity anymore. Our mistakes are there for everybody to see and comment on.
And we saw this yesterday in one of the business meetings where one of the delegates made a motion and later it moved, the conversation went to something else. And eventually the delegate came back and said, I moved, Mr. Chairman, and you never took it to a second. And the chairman said, I did not hear the words move. So Todd checked on the transcript, and I'm following this on YouTube. Right. Before the transcript could be followed, somebody had already rewinded the video.
Yeah.
And listened to the delegate say, he clearly said move.
Right.
The transcript didn't, incidentally. But now we have live video. Williams, when was your first general conference session that you went to?
Oh, 1970.
1970. That was a rather different experience. Tell us about that.
Completely different. It was in Atlantic City. And it was so quiet. Everything was live. There was no radio or television transmission live. It was a completely different world. I remember from that occasion up to now, we are in another galaxy.
Yeah. And we've, this is what you guys have called the digital first. We have a digital first, and that has taken so much work for you guys. But we've had a special manager who is about to come and join us right now on our set with us.
Yes.
And that's Alyssa Truman. Hi, Alyssa.
Hey.
Welcome,
we don't have
welcome.
packages or breaks, so people just have to
we're
come
good.
on. So we're live. So Alyssa, welcome so much to
Thank you.
In Depth. You are the digital manager for the communication department for the Adventist World Church, and you have been behind. We've had so many compliments on Twitter, the ANN Twitter handle and the different social media that we're doing, and you are the one that is behind that and running it. How's it been for you? You must be exhausted.
Absolutely. It's been, I like to call it an exhilarating chaos.
Yeah.
It's just it's like this high, this energy. It's exciting. but it's just this chaos because at the same time that we're doing this, we're trying to do it in 4 languages.
Yeah.
So when we are tweeting, for instance, the morning worships, we literally are putting quotes, and I'm sitting next to people and I'm like, okay, post now. And we're like doing it all at the same time in different languages. When we released all of the, when the directors and the president, we had all of the images ready to go. And as soon as the nomination went,
Yeah.
4 languages live across Twitter. And
That's awesome.
it's this exhilarating feeling.
Yeah.
A lot of work leading up
Yeah.
to it. And it's nice to see it all
Like-
happen.
It's funny that she calls it chaos because we call our area in the press box chaos corner. So it just seems like a unified.
There's a unified
There's a
message here.
unified message. Sorry, Williams. You were
Yeah,
gonna say
well,
something.
that's one of the things that calls our attention is that at the same time,
Mhm.
that it's a fantastic experience, connect to people directly, and this immediacy and all of that,
Right.
that's beautiful. But at the same time, many times hurts when people without, thinking in a good way, they just put nasty words
Right.
and bad comments. And when you look at that, it's, boy, why in the world they are reacting like that?
Right.
So that's the reality that we have on social media. Those ups and downs.
Right.
Many times, wow, fantastic, and other time,
Yeah, it's really hard. And Sam, you and I talked about this earlier this week, and that is that we in the time that I've been here in the communication department, it's been about 12 years since I
Mhm.
started producing A&M Video, that the conversation on social media has grown, obviously, in our channels, and the way that we've treated each other has sort of changed as well. And sometimes it's hard to remember that we're reflections of Christ, that we reflect his character, that we're created in the image of God, and so are the people that we disagree with, and that we maybe make mistakes or that we have different opinions of, and then we post on social media and we forget that a real person tweeted that, a real person, like a human who was created in God's image, and we say things that if we were face to face, we would maybe remember things a little bit different.
I actually told my team to not read the comments.
Yeah.
So every day I go back at night and I go on social media and I'm reading what everything is. And I come back to the team and I let them know all of their wins.
Right.
Because honestly, that's all they need to know
Yeah.
right now.
to keep the
And
sanity.
it does.
Right.
And it's important for them to be able to be clear and focused
Right.
because they have to have a very concise message. And we don't want that negativity in their heads. So
Right.
I'm thrilled with my team. They have
Yeah.
been incredible. I could not have done this without the
What
amazing
did you
team we
do to
had.
prepare? Because I know you just said it took a lot of prep. I sort of know what, because I sit
You were
next.
there.
I was there. I sit next to you, and our offices are next to each other. I'm across from you. So as you guys work through the social media, I was able to see it in real time. But can you share with people what you did? Because it was an incredible amount of work that went into preparing social media ahead of time.
You haven't said anything. Why don't you start it off?
I know
I'm
it's
doing the
hard for
interview.
Sam.
I'm asking the questions here. You're the guest.
Okay.
It's hard for Sam to
Yeah, I know. I'm
he's
like,
sitting
you're
on
not
his
talking.
hands.
No,
And he's so quiet.
I know,
I'm
it's so
surprised.
weird, right?
I
Kind of
love it.
So what happened first is Sam and I sat down. We tried to figure out everything that could be
Yeah.
covered in session. And then we used my favorite medium to create the strategy.
Mhm.
And if you came through the GC in the 2 weeks beforehand and you looked past this one wall, it was just sticky notes. We had literally created a 3-week strategy using sticky notes all
Mhm.
over the place. But basically tried to figure out ways to communicate to people, not just what is happening here, but the meaning behind it.
Yeah.
We had a lot of posts on what is the nominating committee and how does it work? How does the session work? What is the history of sessions in the past? When we announced Ted Wilson's election on Instagram, we had a carousel image that showed all the past presidents.
Right.
We want to help people fall in love with their church and to understand how it works. Because if we don't understand where we've been or how it works, it's hard to really feel like you're a part of that church
Mhm.
family. So we just took all of that into account, created a strategy, tried to create as much as we could in
Yeah.
advance. Monday morning came and I was feeling pretty good. And I think in the first 5 minutes, I kind of was like, this is insane.
Yeah.
What did I get myself into? And then it's just like I prayed. I spent about an hour every day in prayer, and the Holy Spirit just gave
Yeah.
me the peace that I needed to be able to lead this team
Yeah.
globally, because as they
Right.
said, it's all over the world.
Mm.
So it's not like I just have these people near me.
Right.
I'm communicating through WhatsApp with somebody in Brazil and the Philippines, and they're asking what they need. And it's just,
Yeah.
yeah.
The team that you had here was responsible for creating content. So you
Yes.
had writers that were focusing on what was happening. Your team had prepared, our team prepared all of the motions
Mhm.
that were going to be brought to
Yes.
the floor, what the motion was, what the rationale was, and we were ready for the discussion, and eventually what the vote was, which provided people with a running commentary about what was on the floor. And many delegates used it to understand what was on the floor at
Mhm.
that given time, which is exactly what you need for
Right.
the ANN Twitter.
And we used it, by the way, for news as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
So-
just so we could remember, because
That's right,
it's hard to
this-
hear.
yeah, this is
So we would go to Twitter and be like,
Yeah.
got it.
So, but that was the team that was creating content
Mhm.
here, the writer, the editor, but you also had the designers in the Philippines and the people
Yeah.
that were reading every comment, because the team that is
Yes.
focusing on listening and posting, they don't have time to read. But there was a dedicated team that read everything that
Mhm.
anybody had written on all 4 platforms, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and responded to people and prayed with people.
Mhm.
Tell me more about that.
So we have a pastoral care team,
Mm-hmm.
and these are incredible individuals who everybody who writes into any of our church channels,
Mhm.
within 3 minutes, they get an answer.
Right.
Mm.
So even though we have this huge event that is taking place, they still kept that pace. And so all of that live commentary, all the live chat on YouTube, we had people who are moderating it, but also engaging with people.
Right.
People are writing us on Facebook. We're being able to connect with them because we truly believe that we're not just here to drop content and leave.
Right.
Our job is to sit there and interact and create community.
Mhm.
That's often what is missing in social media, but we're very dedicated to the creation of community
Yeah.
with those who follow us.
How do you deal with a team in the Philippines 12 hours ahead of us?
Oh, Williams, bless their hearts, they have reversed their schedule. So
Yeah.
if it's 8 a.m. here, it's generally 8 p.m. there. Well, 9, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I'm not good with time right
Yeah.
now.
The opposite.
It's, yeah.
We don't know what time it is right
whatever
now here.
it is. So whatever time it is, it's like 12
Yeah.
hours. They have actually stayed up through the night and they're sleeping through their days
Right.
so that they can be on live in real time.
And they're doing
so
a
when I need
fabulous job.
images, when all those nominations went through, our box was insane. As soon as somebody knew, we'd ask somebody who had to find this picture, and then we'd send
Mhm.
it to the team in the Philippines, and they would upload it, and then they would give it to us, and then we were disseminating it. And all of this is happening through WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's an incredible.
It is. Thank God for
experience.
WhatsApp.
You're right. Absolutely.
Guys, we have to wrap up in just a few minutes, but I know that there's 4 of us sitting here, but there's many people who couldn't be here. In fact, we were going to have 2 of our other teammates with us on, and they got held up because of technical issues and work, Daniel and Arnaldo. But we have probably 50, 60, 70, 1,000 more people behind the scenes.
86.
86. And we can't mention all of their names, so we're not going to mention any other names. But how do we express our gratitude for the 80, I'm trying to do math, 82 other people, the 82 other people who couldn't be sitting here with us?
Some of them are right here in the
Yeah.
studio, and altogether they're 86.
Yeah.
I'll start, and maybe Alyssa, you can go next, and
Mhm.
Williams can finish it off. Actually, why don't you start?
Why don't I start? I don't even know what to say. You know, I don't, again, we don't want to mention names because we don't want to forget, but I don't think that I could have done anything this week without the team that I had. It was just the articles that were written, the research that was being done. I mean, look, at 9:30 a.m. Late Night is just coming on. Just calling out the youth department for the joy that they brought to our team this week and the hilarity. You know, I've been so blessed. I can't. It's hard to express gratitude that's so deep.
Yes.
You know, because I think sometimes because we're in positions where people see us more, that we get accolades that we don't. I don't want to say don't deserve,
I don't deserve any of them. I can
but
tell you that.
but accolades that other people should have.
Yeah.
And I just think that those accolades that we get this week are due to the people behind us.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Alyssa.
Anyway.
I know we don't want to say names, but
Yeah.
I have to say a couple of them. Jeff he went over to the Philippines and he has been managing that
Mhm.
entire team. If it were not for Jeff, this whole operation would have
Right.
fallen apart on social media. And then Nieli, she is in Brazil, and Nieli has managed all of the translation.
Yeah.
So
Incredibly
we have
well.
incredible teams that are,
Right.
are working. But Jeff and Nieli, I could not have done it without them.
Mhm.
And I have to give a special shout out to Rachel. She has been live tweeting for ANN, Adventist News on Twitter and keeping up with the motions, which are very complex at times.
Right.
She has done an amazing job. And
Right.
I have to just say thanks.
Sam and Williams.
When I just want to, actually, I'm going to look at the team. So at some point, you need to listen to this. I want to thank you because you believed. You believed that this was possible. I know that we are pretty crazy and we come up with some insane ideas. And when I came to each of you and I said, the goal is to run a digital first general conference session. It's never been done before. And we need to nail it first time around. And it needs to be the best operation because the church deserves it. Every one of the 21 million members, if they want to go online and they want to know what their church is doing globally, they deserve to see it. And you, the team, each one of you here, and
Yeah.
Jennifer and Alyssa, you believed in what Williams and I dreamed of. And that's priceless. And I want to thank you because that meant endless hours and crazy nights. And here we are on Thursday, and we're about to end in a couple of days, and not a minute too soon.
Williams.
I'm ready to sing. Because when we don't have enough words to express what we are feeling, music generally speaks what we can't say with words. So I have so much gratitude, so much recognition for the work, dedication, creativity of all of you, that to be honest with you, I need to stop talking and singing, praising God for your life, for what you have done, to deliver all those blessings and all this information to millions of people around the world.
Right.
So may God bless.
Yeah, amen. And Sam, you know what? I am gonna say one person, because James, your son, has been our cheerleader every day this week until he's right there.
Yeah.
And James, come here. James has been our cheerleader every day this week.
Come around here.
This is Sam's son, and he's told Sam and I every day when we're stressing out that we got it, we can do it, and we're
Come
going to
down.
do great. And so we just want to say a special thank you to James. Thank you, James. Thank you.
Yeah.
And guys, we're going to wrap up now, but at 9:30, the final episode of Late Nightish, and you're not going to want to miss it because Kenya and Mwenya have their new youth director with them, and they also have their 2 associates, and it is
Fantastic.
going to be a party, I promise you. And don't forget, there's another episode of A&M Video tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m., and then we will be wrapping up our coverage of Session on video. But Alyssa, you're still going to be tweeting,
Still be working.
and there will still be articles coming out. So make sure you join us throughout the week, and we will see you next time. God bless.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.